Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, or good morning, or good evening, whenever you're watching this later or now. Something really important today. And if you're watching this later and you have questions, just let me know down below. Yeah, being an empath, being sensitive, most of you are. Most people are. We're going to go more into that, why that is, and what exactly that means to be empathic. And if you're not empathic, if you don't think you're empathic, I'd like you to let me know in the comments. Like, let me know and say, I don't relate to that. Like, I'm not sensitive. Like, really, just be honest and relate to that. Like, let me know. You say, I don't know what you're talking about. Hi, Maria. And let me know if you relate to being an empath. Like, what is an empath? So an empath is somebody who is very sensitive to the energies around them. Okay, this is also like energy in the room. Like you walk into a location and feel, kind of weird, strange vibes, maybe, or it's not just feeling other people's emotions, although now Ellen's telling me when you walk in the room and you're feeling these weird energies, usually it's a person. It's from a person. And it's from a person who's either in a body or not in a body because the environment itself is kind of neutral. So, right. So a lot of people are sensitive to energies and emotions of the people and the things, places around them where you are can affect you. Okay. So why is that? So we know that we're all emotional beings. You only can look at a baby and see that the baby's crying when the baby is hungry or when its diaper needs changing or whether it's being hurt in some way. That's normal. Okay, we're not talking about that so much because that's normal for a baby to cry because it's hungry. But normally, we can look at children again. Normally, children are happy. All things being equal, everything being safe and being loved and out in the environment, right, that they're supported, they're going to be happy. They haven't yet learned how to deviate from that, how to get some belief in their head that they're not good enough or they're not worthy or they're stupid or they're unlucky or whatever it is, whatever the belief is. So they haven't therefore become distorted in their belief system, in their experience. But what happens to most of us, because this is the world we're in, we kind of let ourselves be brainwashed, if you will, that we are less than, that we're less than whole, that we're less than worthy, that we're less than intelligent, all those less than. That seems to be a lot easier for most people to accept than the idea that they're equal to others, just as smart, just as worthy, just as good. So, what we're talking about with empaths is that what you're picking up with people is actually yourself. So I want you to step back on this, okay? Because there are a lot of empaths who'll say, "Well, I just pick up everybody's emotions, all their bad feelings, or all their upset, you know, stuff, and their baggage, and you name it. Like I pick everybody's stuff up." So I hate to break it to you, but that is really you. That is really you. Everything you experience is actually you. So when someone is sucking in everybody's emotions, okay, first of all, this is like a default action or mode for people who have suffered sometime in their life, maybe from childhood, maybe more recent, whatever. As Alan was saying, this also can be ancestral, that they've been abused. And what is abuse anyway? right? So, because we've all been abused at some time, it's a question of degree, but it's also a question of, have you allowed yourself to feel your feelings? Have you let yourself process, meaning feel? Process doesn't mean analyze. Process means feeling, like going into it. And in our world, not just in Western society, but in most societies, emotions are frowned upon. People are not encouraged to just have their feelings. You know, especially children, we don't want them to cry or act out or get angry. So most parents will scold them or somehow find the way to get them to shut up. And the child gets it from an early age. Okay, it's not good to cry. It's not good to be upset. It's not good to show my emotions. I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to get hurt. I'm going to get scolded. I could get spanked. I could get abused. Literally, I could get beaten up because I spoke out, because I said what I thought, because I was upset. So from an early age, that you just start shutting down because you got hurt. Maybe somebody actually did violate you. Let's take that extreme example. That this you were physically or sexually or whatever abused, and you weren't allowed to feel that. You weren't allowed to go into that, to rage about it, to cry about it, to talk to anybody about it, maybe even. And so you just kept it in. But the emotion doesn't go anywhere. It just turns into toxicity within us. And so an example like that, if you meet somebody who's carrying some negative energy that even resembles that, that even on some close frequency to that, you're going to be triggered. You're going to start picking up that anger or sadness or whatever it is. So what I'm not I'm not Alan says don't I don't want to say I'm telling you. I say invite you to think about this. That because this is what I know to be true in my work at 35 years as a channeler and as a counselor, working with people and readings and all that and healing people. And Alan's saying same thing with him, that we know that the people who are extremely empathic, I've seen them, and every one of them are my clients. Okay, I'm just saying my clients. There could always be exceptions. So we're never going to say, across the board, always exceptions. But what I've seen is the people who are profoundly psychic in that way from childhood, they were invariably abused. So they developed their empathic sense out of this protection, actually. I have friends one friend who knew when their father was going to be coming home to beat them every night. And so you can bet that child from a young age developed the ability to sense when their father was coming home so they could get ready, so they could gird themselves. This was a good thing. This was out of protection of that child to prepare. Otherwise, they would have been completely, shocked if the father walked in the door and boom, they get hit with that. So in other words, they expanded their consciousness so that they could perceive what was going on. And that would include emotions around them, of other people, not just about trying to pick up on the father. Because when you expand your awareness, you're going to pick up everything. And okay, and Alan's saying, and when you're doing this out of fear, because you're worried something's going to happen to you, so you're really their radar's up. You're really like, okay, what's going on? I got to know it. I got to sense it, because so I can protect myself. So right there, you're laying down a pattern. You're now setting yourself up that you're going to do this for the rest of your life, unconsciously, pretty much. You're going to be sensing everyone around you wherever you go. And the thing is, I'm not getting this from any research I've done. Alan's just telling me, or Spirit's just telling me, something like 85% of the population, maybe higher, has been abused. Had been abused to some degree, right? Some extreme degree, some moderate, some less so, but everyone, 85%, world population has been abused. He says it's probably higher. We're kind of not casting as wide as we should. Does that make sense? Because and some of that abuse could have been accidental. Like it wasn't necessarily like deliberate, but it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter if somebody accidentally runs your foot over with a car or does it on purpose. Your car still got run over, the car still run over your foot, right? You still got hurt, you still got traumatized. So it doesn't matter whether it was on purpose, accidental, or conscious, unconscious, doesn't matter. So on top of that, what Spirit's telling me is you're living in a time of the awakening. So everyone's becoming, on top of that, becoming more sensitive. Even if you weren't already an empath, by God, now you're becoming more sensitive on top of it all. Even the people who aren't like that empathic, everyone's becoming more sensitive. Alan's laughing. He goes, even Pam's becoming more sensitive because I was not abused in my childhood. I just wasn't. It wasn't picture perfect. I mean, my parents had problems, but I know I didn't have any abuse. And our son, I know for sure, was not abused. And he even jokes about it because he goes to hang out with his friends and they play these games. I just got to share this with you because this is what's funny about it. He play these games where they have to say like, yeah, I've done that, or that's me. And they'll say things like, your parents put you on timeout because your report card, or they spanked you, or things like that. Okay, things like what was done to you as a kid. And my son was always like, nope, nope, no. And his friends were like, wait a minute, you had none of this? And he goes, no. So he just laughed and laughed. He goes, mom and dad, you guys were just boring. You just didn't do anything to screw me up. And all his other friends were rattling off all these lists of all this stuff that was done to them. None of it was horrific, but the point is, most of them could list like all the things that they endured, the criticisms and everything that my son never did. So my son just laughs. He just says, "Yeah, I'm just boring. I don't have any trauma." And as a result, our son is not empathic. Okay, I want to make that point. Lack of being empathic doesn't mean the person's less evolved. It actually means they're simply free of trauma. And we know, and I've seen reports, I've seen research that shows that empathic people, if once they heal their trauma, okay, they are no longer high empaths. It doesn't mean they're no longer psychic because you can be psychic. Like I know when somebody's upset. I know when they've been hurt, or I know what they're feeling. I don't feel what they're feeling. There's a difference. Taylor is kind of the same way. He'll know psychically what somebody feels, but he won't feel it in his emotional body because he doesn't hold the resonance of their pain, of their anger, of their fear, of their anxiety, of their worry, of their condemnation, whatever the negative emotion is. So he's not going to be a vibrational match to it. So in other words, you're picking up other people's emotions. That's just showing you you've got that in you, and you need to, if you want to clear it, you need to work on you, not stay away from those people. Because if you cleared yourself, then you could be with all these distorted people, and maybe you wouldn't have a great time because maybe they could be really, grumpy or not the nicest people, whatever. But you certainly don't have to pick up all their emotion. Certainly don't have to take all that home with you. If you do that, that's you. Meaning like their energy, their emotion, just pushed your buttons, and now your buttons are all lit up, and you're going, oh God, I feel all this negative emotion from those people. No, 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 no. That's you you're feeling. That's you that you're feeling. Everything your experience is self-generated, self-created. You are not a victim. You just don't know that that's the way it is, that you generated it, that it's you. Okay, and I'm not trying to blame you. You just don't know because they don't teach you this. Can you imagine how the world would be different if everybody learned this? Like when you're in school, like yeah, you create everything. Okay, so do you understand that? So if you want to clear that, the next time you, let's say, go to a party and you're starting to feel like, oh yeah, I can feel everybody's emotions. This is how you start clearing your emotions. You just give yourself permission to feel it, to go into that, because the trauma that you experience that's buried within you, the reason it's coming up, flaring up, because now somebody there in front of you is angry, and so your anger that you haven't processed about whatever it was in the past is now activated. The emotion's coming up to say, please feel me. It's saying, please pay attention, please feel me, just go into it. But what do people normally do? They're so afraid of going there that they'll maybe get a drink or eat more food, or go watch more Netflix or whatever it is. They don't want to deal with it, so they stuff it back in. The problem is it doesn't go away, and so it'll happen again and again, and your emotions are simply saying, hey, hey, I'm here, I'm still upset, I'm still afraid. And the negative emotion is simply saying to you that whatever you're thinking about, like, let me give an example of if somebody has betrayed you. And yes, I can see your comments, everybody, but I'm focusing on teaching. So I don't have time to interact and teach you guys at the same time. I'm trying to stay laser focused here. So, your negative emotion is simply letting you know that you're thinking wrong. I don't mean wrong like right or wrong, I mean incorrectly, incorrectly. So if somebody hurt you, they betrayed you, and now you're just hurt, you're just devastated, and you're angry. You're like, I'm so angry that they betrayed me. Like, how dare they? The negative emotion you feel, because it doesn't ever feel good to condemn somebody and be upset at them. The reason it doesn't feel good is because your emotional guidance system, that's really coming from your inner being, your higher self, your true self, is letting you know that what you're thinking, the condemnation you've now gone into, is incorrect. It's letting you know it's incorrect. But what do most people do? Most people, when they get upset, immediately, this is what's wrong with the world, immediately say, I'm right. My anger is showing me that I'm right. You did something wrong, and that's why I'm pissed off. You did something wrong, and now I'm going to war over it. I'm going to war over it because you hurt me, you wronged me, you betrayed me. This is why I'm so upset. This is why I'm enraged. And now and I'm saying yes, and wars have been waged against millions of people because somebody got upset and said, I'm right, you're wrong. And I know the truth, and I'm going to cram it down your throat. But the negative emotion is a sign that you're misaligned in your thinking. Always, always. Even, and this is where I want to kind of bring this up, even and especially this. Okay. Grief is painful because death is actually a lie. It's a lie. So if you go into grief, that means you believe they're gone, they're dead. It cannot feel anything but bad because that's a lie. And your inner being is saying, hey, hey, not true, not true, not true. Doesn't matter which way you cut it, it's never gonna feel okay. It's not even gonna feel okay. It's never gonna feel uh, right, because it's that belief, that statement is wrong. And the soul that you are knows it's wrong. So if you start to look at the world a little differently, like the things that get me upset are actually, it's the reverse. I'm not saying that somebody, actually, like an example of somebody betraying you, I'm not saying it's okay that they betrayed you. We're not talking about that. It's never okay that somebody betrayed you, somehow hurt you in some way. We're not condoning their action, talking about if you want to live your life feeling free and empowered and in alignment with who you really are. And okay, I'm saying if you want to connect with your loved one on the other side, you got to do your best to see the world from this broader perspective that they have now, because they see that broader perspective. Trust me, they go to the other side, have their life review, and realize, oh God, I got it all screwed up. Like I thought this person, had really been my enemy, and really they were just my teacher, and they were pushing me, and they showed, you see the full truth, you see the bigger story here. When you're here on the ground, it's hard because you're in 3D world, and it's hard, and we get it. But that's what we came here for. And if you have a loved one on the other side and you want what I would call the most sublime connection with them, and I don't mean just simply okay, let me try to take this back a little bit. You can be a medium, and I've met one or two, a gifted medium, and be in contact with your loved one on the other side and still not be having a great life. I've met them. That's not the answer by itself. It's not the answer by itself to develop your psychic ability. You've got to spiritually evolve. That's my experience and what I'm seeing with people that I'm helping privately to advance to that. Okay. It's not just about becoming full-blown clairvoyant, full-blown clairaudient, and all that. That you can have. That is easier than you can even imagine when you pursue a spiritual path rather than a psychic path. There's a difference. He's saying huge difference. When you pursue a spiritual path, the psychic gifts come to you naturally. When you focus on a psychic path, not necessarily your spiritual development doesn't necessarily unfold from that. It can, but if that's the primary focus, I just want to be more psychic, that can still leave you wanting and still leave you unhappy, still leave you not with the fullest connection with your loved one. That is what has surprised me, actually, to actually hear, because I've been in these different groups, and actually hear some mediums say how they were surprised that it was hard for them to really connect to their loved one on the other side. They thought it would be easy because they are mediums. And for some of them, I'm not saying for all of them, I'm just saying for some of them, it's not been that way. And I would say that, in my opinion, it's because they're not spiritually advanced enough. They're not entered vibrationally, energetically, like high enough to really tap into that level that's possible with their loved one on their side. And they can still learn, and they probably are. But I'm just trying to tell you that to me is the way to go. That would be my encouragement to you, is to say, this is really a spiritual path I'm embarking on if I'm attempting to reach my loved one through the veil. And even if you're not attempting to reach your loved one through the veil, because some of you are not in that category in my group, you still are here for a spiritual journey. So you still want to do what I'm talking about. And we're going to help you in a minute with that. But, and I also want, okay, I'm saying, we want to talk about how we need to understand who we really are and what life is really about. That's part of the problem too here, because it's not as simple as saying, well, I want to see my loved one, talk to him or her, and feel them. We all want that. But if you just leave it at that, and you don't understand why they do or don't do some of the things they do or don't do, like why do some souls on their side come through so strong and are giving signs all the time, and then others don't, or then they start doing that and then they stop, like what is that about? And because I see a lot of people asking about that in our group and other groups, and really there's no one answer for that, because there's a lot we don't know about the loved one on the other side, where they're at, like what they're still learning. There's still things that they're processing. You must get over this concept that your loved one on their side is somehow perfect now. They've got all the answers. They don't have any more growing to do. They don't have any healing to do. It's not necessarily true. They're all at a different stage of their evolution. When you leave this world and cross over, you will be too at another level of your evolution. And I don't want to get all into it here because this is something I'm going to explore. We're going to explore in depth in the program we're launching. And we're going to really dive deep into teaching what the afterlife really is about so people just get it through their head because there's so much misinformation out there, so much misinformation that I get clients that are completely confused about what is truth. So I didn't have to go through that because there wasn't that much information when I opened up. So I just learned from my guides. And they said this, and it was really simple. And even now, I read something and I'll hear nope, 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 and then I'll go yes. I know when I hear something or read something, I know if it's true because I had to hone that from the beginning because I didn't have a teacher in a body. I had spirit teachers. So, and you can too. And that's what we're going to do in our program, on top of connecting you with your loved one. So, anyway, we're going to go back to now because I want to get into really going into the whole thing about an empath. Does that make sense to you guys? First of all, do you understand what I mean? That it's everything experience is self-generated, self-created. We do not live in a universe that asserts itself on us, like randomly. Does that make sense? No, nothing happens at random. It's all self-created, consciously or unconsciously. That's the only difference. You're either doing it deliberately, on purpose, consciously, or unconsciously. Most of the time, it's unconscious. For example, this statement, yeah, life will have its way with you, really means that your unconsciousness will have its way with you. What you're not conscious and aware of is going to run your life. And so if things are not going the way you would like them to go, you have to look around you and go, okay, something's going on in my unconscious because this is not consciously what I choose. So I got some cleanup to do because the universe is not against me, quite the opposite. It's on my side, but I have to be on my side. If my subconscious is not on my side, how can the universe be on my side? The universe is only going to match what my unconscious is agreeing to. So if you've got a problem out here in the external reality, you got to look in here. Don't look at other people and say, well, that person is messing me up, or that person, is hurting me, or I'm a victim because of this. No, it's all self-created. And this is a good thing, everybody. This means you're in control. You just didn't know it. That's all it is. Just didn't know it. Like, what? I'm in control. Well, now that you know, you can start taking back the reins of your life. So, what I'm going to do right now is I want you to think about something. We're going to go into this more next week when we're going to work on healing fear, because fear is a big problem. Fear of the afterlife, fear of the unknown, fear of death, just fear, fear, fear. Fear is pretty much running rampant on the planet. And when we feel fear, that's an indication also that our inner being, our true self, whether you call it higher self, soul, whatever, the higher part of you, is saying no. Like it is loudly telling you, not true. Your fear of death is not true. Your fear of being hurt by in a new relationship is not true. But if you go in believing that and go all in and really focus on the fear, I'm afraid of this, I'm afraid of this, you will manifest that. Because fear is such a powerful emotion that it's really easy to manifest from fear because it's so intense. So what you want to do instead is clear that, feel into that fear. We're going to do this next week. Really feel into the fear and get on the other side of it. Because the reason somebody's, say, afraid of public speaking is they probably never even did any public speaking. They're just afraid of it. Like, well, I don't know what that is. That's really terrifying to speak in front of, 50 people, 500 people, whatever. But the fear is telling you, not true, not true. This is doesn't have to be a, this is not a bad thing. So if the person felt into that fear and just let themselves feel it, what that would be like, they'd step through it and go, oh, okay, I don't feel that fear anymore. And then they could step up and do some public speaking because they don't have the fear. Okay, it's all about that, just feeling it, letting it move through you. But because that person got somehow in their head, oh, it's really scary to be public speaking, and they locked it down. They just said, I'm not, I don't want to do that. I just don't want to ever speak publicly. I just don't want to do that. So now that fear got trapped. Does that make sense? Now that fear turned toxic. And now every time they come close to maybe speaking in public, they just activate it again, and they get more scared and it just builds until they just say, "Oh, I can't do this. I can never do this." And what they need to do is just feel it. And I'm not saying they should go do the public speaking right off the bat. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying they should feel into it until it passes. And then they can step into that and they'll be at least less afraid and be astonished that they go, oh, well, I just needed to feel that fear that came up when I had that wrong thinking that was terrifying and I got locked into place, but all I had to do is feel it and know that it's not true. It doesn't have to be scary. It was just my judgment of something as wrong that created the fear that my inner being was trying to say, no, lie, lie, it's a lie, lie. But I wasn't paying attention. So I just kept it in and it got bigger, got bigger. So I hope you understand that what I'm talking about. So next time, first of all, next time you're in with people, anybody, one-on-one with somebody or a group of people, whatever, start feeling other people's feelings. Just say, okay, what is this? Let me feel into this. This is me. This is not them. I don't have to be afraid of that person. It's not about them. This is me. My emotion is just saying, could you please feel me? Could you please feel the anxiety? Don't be afraid. Just feel me and feel on the other side of it. Okay, well, Alan's saying we're going to have to talk more about emotional guidance system and more about why emotion, even extreme joy, is kind of a distortion. I don't know. I know it sounds weird, but really, what we're aiming for in life is to feel not neutral, like feeling nothing, but feeling bliss and joy. And we're not talking about bliss and joy and love like a Hallmark movie. Okay, I'm not talking about a sappy Hallmark movie because that's a distortion too. To be honest with you, I'm talking about living in a state of bliss and joy and love as a constant state. And most people aren't there yet. We're here to learn that, but we have to first learn like how to navigate these emotions. And don't get upset with yourself if you feel negative emotion. It's okay. And certainly some negative emotion is healthier than others, like feeling anger is healthier than feeling guilt and shame. It's higher vibration. But ultimately you want to feel that that joy and love that is just steady. Okay. And it's okay to want to feel this this more euphoria, I'll call it. And when that comes in, when you connect with a loved one, that is different. Is what I was trying to understand this with Alan today. I'm going to share with you briefly. There's somebody, I'm going to mention this person's name. You might have heard of him. He's a spiritual teacher. And Alan guided me to listen to him today for almost 2 hours. And because I followed this guy's work for quite a while. And I don't really follow anybody all the time. There's just certain people I know of and I check in with them sometimes. But he was talking about our emotions and what they are in the emotional guidance system. And everything he was saying I knew was true because I can tell. And it was things I've thought before and my guides had told me before. I was just like hearing him say it. And so yeah, so he's saying that really it's about, how can I put it? Understanding that the negative emotion is not to blame ourselves or feel bad for having that, but just to understand that it really is guidance. And that if you got on the other side of that anger, you'd get to that place of bliss and love. Even for the person who betrayed you, you'd realize that that's just an illusion, what they did. That nobody can really hurt your feelings without you participating, without you agreeing, because that's just their perspective. And obviously, somebody who acts is so mean to say something cruel to you is distorted, or they wouldn't say that to you. So if you knew your worth, if you knew that you deserve love and you knew that you're whole and you're perfect and complete as you are, somebody came up to you and said, "You're a freaking jerk, an asshole, whatever," you would just look at them like, "Oh God, you must be crazy." Because that's what it is when somebody's being mean to you, they've kind of gone a little crazy. And so you could begin to feel more compassion. Like there must be something really going wrong with that person in their life for them to be so mean. And you don't have to take it personally. But the emotion, your reaction of being upset, just saying, not true, it's not true. And I'm not talking about in life when there are things that you do need to take action for and protect yourself from. We're not talking about this. This is the problem with talking about these things and living in the 3D world, because people immediately go to the extreme and go, well, what about this? They go, obviously, let's use common sense here. If somebody is being attacked, you take action to protect them or yourself. You don't just go into lotus position and start singing kumbaya, saying everything will be okay. We're just saying you don't go into default mode when somebody does says something mean to you and go into a rage, which is what most of humanity does. Talking about being conscious in your response rather than unconscious. If you're conscious in your response, then you would know it's appropriate for me to be physically assertive here and take action, right? But a lot of spiritual people will say, well, I should just turn the other cheek. And I go, screw that. What are you talking about? You're crazy. You need to take guided, really ultimately talking about living your life guided. Guided by who? We're not talking about guided by some omnipresent, being that's trying to control you like you're a puppet. No, you're guided by your own higher being, your own inner being, your own soul. And guess what? Your loved ones on the other side, your partner on the other side, they're part of your team. You're not really this singular individual that you think you are, that you believe you are, that you've been brainwashed into thinking you are, solitary being. No, you're part of all, and you're part of a spirit team, and chances are your partner is part of that same team. So they're giving you guidance. They're giving you ideas. You think humanity would have pulled itself out of the swamp it was in when everything began and reached this place? I know it looks kind of messed up right now, but the place is, a lot better than it was back then. Uh, Shortly after the dinosaurs were, knocking around the earth, we got pretty far. Okay, we wouldn't even gotten this far if we weren't being guided constantly. Alan's showing me constantly in capital letters. You are part of a collective that is benevolent, that is on your side. But we, 'cause I'm going to include me here too, got to be on our side. Otherwise, they can't help us. If we're not on our side, if we don't believe in us, if we don't love ourselves, how can they love us as much as they want to? They will keep loving us, but how can we feel their love? How can we really, embrace it and embody it and then reflect it out to the world? Most of all, feel it for ourselves. Can we do that? Okay. We have to feel within ourselves what we're wanting to feel from others. You cannot love somebody else if you don't love yourself. It's impossible. You go through the motions, you're doing your best, but you're not really. And notice, does anybody see my light is flickering? That's the other side. That's what Alan's saying. They're all going, yes, yes, Morse code signal coming through, right? So it's a self-created universe. You create all of it. And isn't that wonderful? Isn't that amazing? You can change your experience. You have the power you always had. So the time we're living in is about taking back our power. And that's why everything looks like it's falling apart, because all the lies are coming to the surface. So right now, I knew this was going to go long. We're probably going to go an hour because there's a lot I want to dig into here, but I want to give you a healing. So I want you to think about something that you know, because Alan's saying there's a lot on your list, I'm sure, like most people, and that's all fine. Like, don't feel bad about it. You're here for the human experience, and he's showing me a long list, and it's okay. This is a good list. It's good to have these experiences, okay? So, so think about something that you know always sticks in your craw, right? Something that you go, yeah, when somebody, I see somebody doing this, God, it really pisses me off. God, that really makes me upset. Knowing that what you know now, that this is your issue, this is your problem. Thank goodness for that. Because if it wasn't, think about it this way, if it wasn't, then that would mean, oh my God, I'm a victim. I don't know who's gonna come and attack me or do something to me, because I better put up protection. This is another reason why psychic protection really doesn't last for very long, because again, you self-generate everything. So, it's only going to last a little bit, and then you're back where you started. So think about something that really always upsets you with other people. Now that you know that that's you're seeing yourself in the other person. Think about that. I want you to think about that for a minute. And if you're not sure, and that's okay if you're not sure, or Ellen saying, if you're not sure where to start because your list is so long, just say to your spirit team, all right, just help me whatever it is you think that I need today, whatever that is, because there's always tomorrow. You can keep on working on it. Okay, so whatever it is, just say, I'll choose something for me, spirit team. So whatever it is, and if you're not sure what it is, I want you to close your eyes and hone into that, feel into that. And I want you to just take a deep breath in, and on the exhale, just get more in touch with your body. And with each breath you take in and out, you're getting more in touch with your feelings, your emotions, and you're blessing all of your emotions, all the negative emotion, all the positive emotion. It's all part of the joy of being a human in a body. None of it is bad or wrong or messed up. It's all perfect. We're just going to begin to develop mastery over our emotions. But let's be appreciative of them, because everything was created from consciousness, and consciousness is God. So your emotions are consciousness too. So feel into your feelings, and maybe think back to a time when you got really annoyed with somebody, or you were with someone and you could really pick up on their feelings, and you took it on, and it didn't feel good, and you didn't like it, or maybe you got upset about it, but you couldn't do much about it. Or again, if you're not sure what that might be that you're still holding, ask your team to help you to isolate that. And now imagine, see, or feel where that might be in your body. And if you're not sure, that's okay too. But if you do get a sense of where it might be in your body, wherever it is, I would like you to focus all your attention there. And if you're not sure where it is, then I'd like you to just focus on your heart. Otherwise, the rest of you, if you feel it somewhere else, like, I don't know, let's say you feel it in your toe, then go all into that toe area. If not, then go into the heart and just feel into that. Just feel into that. And we're just going to ask your emotional body to bring up whatever is ready to let you feel that you need to release and process. You're going to feel it in order to release it. Okay, you're going to feel into it and just let that come up. And if it makes you uncomfortable, great, great, because you're on the right track. If it makes you cry, beautiful. Please cry. See, I can't, nobody can see you anyway. Please cry. Just feel whatever you feel. Let that come up. And we're going to help you amplify that. So don't worry if you feel it intensifying, just to help it bring to the surface. And just feel it. And take a deep breath and exhale if it feels uncomfortable. Just breathe through it. This is not going to last forever. It cannot last forever. Have you ever tried to be happy forever? You can't even do that. So how could you feel bad forever? How could you feel sad forever? You can't. So feel whatever you feel. Just let yourself be in it. Be okay with turning up the volume on it because you want to purge this and be free of it once and for all, or at least as much as you can today. So feel that and release that and bless it. It is so beautiful to have any emotion because it means you're alive and you came here to be alive with the negative and the positive emotion, with the contrast of it all. The contrast is what makes life so beautiful here. And there's no such contrast like this on the other side. The contrast of light and dark, of heat and cold, even love and hate. You appreciate one more when you have the other, winning and losing. What would winning mean if you won all the time and there was no losing? So feel into your feelings. You might feel waves of emotion come over you. That's okay. You might feel one emotion changes to another one. That's okay. Just let yourself have your experience. Take a deep breath in. The exhale. Feel your awareness go through every part of your body. I know that sounds strange, like, well, how can I be aware of my whole, every part of my body? Just set your intention to be present in every part of your physical body. And I want you to think back to that person or experience or whatever the thing was that got you upset, that you judged or what have you, and feel into that and tell me if you feel a charge about it anymore. You might not. You might still have it, and that just means you got more processing to do. It's okay. Big deal. So what? So what? You can do that. That's easy. Just let me know what you experienced. Later, if you're watching this later and you're not here live with me, let me know later. Otherwise, just know that you can go back into this when you want to, and also in real life. I like that, those initials IRL. In real life, So in real life, really it should be, I, you are, I mean, you, L, meaning in unreal life, but because life isn't real. But in life, as those things come up, then feel into that. Take ownership of what you feel you're taking on from somebody and process that. Let yourself feel that. Thank your emotional guidance system for letting you know, like, hey, I'm off base. It really is your, you could also call it your GPS, your God positioning system, trying to tell you, you you're off, you're derailed, you're off the chart, you're off in the bushes. Wait a minute, recalculating. That's what the GPS used to say to Alan and I when we were in England and we're constantly getting lost, going off in the wrong direction. And the GPS would go, recalculating, recalculating. And he'd go, oh no, we're off in the wrong place. And it was just saying, warning, warning. And that's what your negative emotion is telling you. Hey, hey, you're off track. Not true, not true. Get back to the truth of who you really are. Get back to the reality. Because so remember, everything in life is an experience of your creation. It's not about someone else asserting anything upon you. You simply matched their emotions or invited the experience in. Usually it's unconsciously. I mean, it could be consciously, but most of the time it's unconscious that we're doing that. Because why would we deliberately do that, right? Most people are going to say, yeah, I deliberately want to feel crappy. I deliberately want to hurt myself or abuse myself. And most people are not doing that. It's their unconscious that's doing that. And that's why most people think if they feel angry, like, oh, that upset me, they believe they're right to feel that way, right? They believe they're right to feel that way. Don't you see a lot of that in the world right now? People saying, I know I'm right, like I feel angry about abortion and I'm right to feel this way because et cetera, et cetera. I'm not even saying that the pro-life or right to life or either side is necessarily wrong. They're all wrong if they're coming from I'm right. Really, everybody should have their choice. So, but when you are in extreme negative emotion, you're not seeing it from the place of love. Now, love might still say, I need to take action and go, you know, go campaign against taking away abortion rights. I'm not saying that. That doesn't mean to be passive. It just means you're not coming from a place of fear or negativity. You're saying, no, I feel really guided to take a stand on this. Most people are not acting from guidance. They're defaulting to more primal reactions of fear and negativity. They're not, it's very different. So what I'm suggesting to you is to start understanding that you can live a more guided life. It's really about being guided in your existence and not just letting the ego, your conscious mind, rule the day. Like, what am I being guided to do? Fortunately, until you kind of do some emotional cleanup, your guidance can be a little bit, wobbly, right? You can't show, like, is that my guidance or is that my ego? Is that like, yeah, that's right. So your negative emotion is telling you, I still got some work to do. Because ultimately you're to look at the world as a place of peace, love, and bliss, and still take guided action. If you feel like, okay, I need to go march on Washington against something, but see, most people are doing things like that from a place of ego. Like, that is wrong, and I got to go tell everybody it's wrong. That's not what we're talking about. You can do the same action from a place of guidance or place of misalignment. It's not the action. It's about your alignment because you're talking about you having an experience. You're not talking about the outcome of you taking the action. You're the one that's got to live in your body, in your reality. So you're the one that wants to take the guided path, not the path of the ego driving the bus, which is going to be a bumpier ride, and you're going to you're just not going to be that happy. And you're certainly not going to be in full alignment with your loved one on the other side who has returned to being pure positive energy, who is living in a state of constant bliss, joy, and love. We want to more be in that energy, guys. You want to live more in that place. If you want to have the highest relationship possible with them, we've got to be in that place. And no, I'm not saying that's easy. I'm not even saying you're going to be there all the time, but you can be there more often than you realize. You just didn't even know that was possible, a lot of you. Like, what? I can really do that? Yeah, yes. And as Alan likes to say, we're going to close on this. Remember, you're not living during the time of ascension for nothing. You're here because these things are possible now when they weren't before. He says, not even 5 years ago. You're going to see miracles happen in your life, in the lives of other people, as you open up to this truth of who you really are. And your loved one on the other side, this is Alan Ship told me today, he said their love is actually as precious as it is to those of us who are searching for a soulmate, as precious as it is. He says it's really their love is the carrot. They're dangling this carrot in front of us, saying, I love you, and I want to reunite with you. And, beloved, I want you to become empowered. I want you to step into knowing your true value and worth so that we can have this ecstatic union between heaven and earth, that you don't have to wait to cross over to reunite with me completely. We could reunite more completely, not completely, because you're still in a body, okay? But it still can be ecstatic. It can be more than you could ever imagine it could be. More than even the people right now we're having that connection can imagine it to be. There's more. It's about working on ourselves spiritually. And again, you're not living during the time of ascension for nothing. You're not. You chose to be here at this time. If your loved one's not here, he or she chose to leave at this time. There's a reason for that. If you're listening to us, whenever this is, wherever you are, I don't know whether it's now or next week or 5 years from now, if you're in our sphere of reality, that means this is possible for you. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to understand what we're talking about. You wouldn't have found us. You'd be like, tune us out. That's fine. But if we're talking to you and it resonates with you, that means that is your truth. Because what did I say earlier? Self-created reality. What I'm talking about, it's really about you. So thank you. We went an hour, which is over than what we normally do. But Ellen said we had to do that. If you have questions about this, oh, and here, by the way, here's Bentino Massaro. His book is Super Accelerated Living. Here it is. If you want to get his book, I think there might be a Kindle version. And he teaches retreats and things, pretty high level. I mean, kind of expensive, but he does a lot of stuff for free. So there's a lot of content you can look at for free. And he talks about the Law of One, which I have the Law of One books. I don't want to go into that. That's a whole other discussion. It's a whole other rabbit hole to go down in. Ben Tinho, he understands Law of One probably better than anybody, and he talks about a lot in his teachings. So very fascinating. His work is very fascinating. He's the real deal. We only follow the people that are the real deal. That's why I don't follow many people. And I'm not really following him. It's just that at times I get guided by Alan or my team to say, hey, go read that or go check what he's doing. And this morning I happened to find something on his, he has a podcast that you subscribe to. Oh, and you can subscribe to it for it's $22 a month, or the first week is free. I will drop the link to that here. I would definitely recommend you do the week thing for free and just check him out and watch his podcast. It's a video thing with him talking, So the one I did today was on, I don't remember the name of it. I'll put it in the in the feed here. But I was listening to today, it's like 2.5 hours long, where he was just discussing in the emotional guidance system and all that. Really fascinating. For some of you, it might seem like it's over your head. That's okay, because guess what? It's good to stretch ourselves to say, this is a little bit beyond me, but that's okay. I'll just try, I'll just do my best. I'll just feel into this. But it's all true. The law of one, and you can take this for what it's worth, nobody can prove this. The law of one is said to have been actually the original Bible. The law of one, the work of Ra, is supposed to be actually what the actual Bible, the actual, and I think there's something to that, because they talk about there's only one of us here, we're all one, and we're all here to serve. And that's a complicated subject. It's a huge topic. And if you start looking into the law of one, let us know. Again, I'm never going to say I'm an expert on that. I think Dentino is, he is. And I would defer to him and say, go check out what he says about it. So you live in exciting times. You can connect with your loved one on their side. And that's just the beginning. As amazing as that is just the beginning. They want us to transform our lives while we're still here, and be abundant and healthy and strong and empowered. And you can be. Okay. So thanks for coming. And next time it won't be this long, but once in a while we will. And 202 sounds like a good number to sign off on. Love you guys. And until next time, take care and love yourself and each other. Bye bye.